there and welcome back to the channel. Here we are at Damflask Reservoir, and today's walk is going to take us from Damflask down the River Loxley to Malin Bridge. So it's another one of my river walks. As we walk down the river, we'll probably see some of the remains of the industry that used to make part of this whole valley very busy in the 17th and 18th century. But we start our walk here at Damflask Reservoir. It's not started. Here we are on the dam wall at Damflask, and if you followed any of my previous videos, there is a nice little walk that I do from here around the dam wall and around the dam itself, which is about 3 kilometres, so it's a nice little walk. Today we're walking from here down the River Loxley, so we're currently looking up the dam here. So the River Loxley would come in at the top of the dam, and then it escapes from the dam and carries on down the valley behind me. Over to my left over there is a spillway, so that usually it's the water level is right up to the edge of the spillway over there. It's a bit on the low side today, but I say what we're going to do today is we're going to walk down the valley. So I'm just going to cross the road here. And I'm going to see if I can lift this camera up a little bit here. So here we're now looking down the Loxley Valley. So we will be, see the water not coming out of the spillway there, so that's flowing down into the River Loxley further down, where we will be joining it. Unfortunately, there's no direct access to the down there, so I've got to do a little bit of a detour up the road to get to that. So that will probably take me about 10-15 minutes, but I will be doing my usual of speeding up the film for this part of the walk. That's what I tend to do with these walks, is when I'm doing these walks I tend to speed up the sections that are probably not so interesting, you know, the bits where we're walking along roads or doing detours around the not very nice bits, or even the bit where it's just sort of a bit along a straightforward part of the river. So for those sections, I will tend to just speed up the film, so as we can get past those. And obviously, what I'll do, I will stop and probably do a little bit of voiceover for the more interesting parts of the walk. So away we go. So here is a 61 bus to Bradfield, and that is the way in which I got up to where we are today. Yeah, if you so if you want to do this walk, you can park cars up here, but it's the walking today tends to be one-way. There is a circular walk that does similar to what we're doing today, but I'm not doing this one. I'm just walking down the river. So if you want to just walk, so if you do want to just walk down the river, what you can do is get a bus from Sheffield Interchange to Hillsborough. I'll get the tram to Hillsborough, and then get a 61 or a 62 bus from Hillsborough Interchange. Now those buses bring you up to the village of Bradfield, which is at the other end of Damflask Reservoir. So here we are below the reservoir, and we're picking up the River Loxley at this point. Now there's a big structure at the side of me here, and I'll put a little bit of information about that. That was an unused. That is an unused. I don't know what you call it. I'll put something a little bit about that in the information anyway. Yeah, so here we joining the River Loxley. So here is where we pick up the River Loxley trail. So we'll be going down the river in this direction to join up with, to eventually get down to the River Rivlin. So here we have a weir on the River Loxley, and where there's a weir there's usually a dam or a sluice gate, a head goit. A head goit being the waters that take water from the river to the dams to power water wheels. And as I say, the River Loxley, like many of the rivers in Sheffield, were part of the industrial heartland of Sheffield. So what we've got here, we've got the weir. We have a capstan here, which was probably the sluice gate heading to this head goit at this side. So this would have been the head goit that would have taken us to one of the dams. I'll have to double check which dam it was, but if we go a little bit further along, we have the dam itself. Now this particular dam is managed by Loxley Fisheries, so they do actually have fishing on here, and as you can see there's the little platforms that are numbered, so there are probably times when you can come and fish here. So quite a pretty area, quite a nice peaceful area. So I could just imagine sitting here with a fishing rod and just having a quiet afternoon. So not particularly, so this bit isn't a particularly pretty part of the walk. That's partly because a lot of the Loxley Valley had industry and stuff going on quite until you know, the last 20-30 years sort of thing. So as a result, a lot of the there's a lot of buildings right on the edge of the river, which means the river's not accessible. So a lot of those, as you can see here, are derelict and not in use. So basically, yeah, not so good really. So not the prettiest part of the walk in these upper reaches of the valley. But hopefully we'll get past this bit and soon be back by the river. Yeah, so the River Loxley, not particularly a pretty river to walk down at this part of the river. Just a lot of derelict buildings and whatnot. But we will carry on our way. It does get nicer. Okay, right, this is interesting because we've got a little sign here that points towards a water wheel. So if we go down here, we will see that there is another weir. So, and another head goit here that would feed another mill. So we'll head up here. So we followed that head goit and now we are at another dam. Well, I've got to admit this is quite pretty and quite a substantial dam as well. I can't remember the name of this dam. And we're back by the river again. So a little bit of a detour, slight detour. But I think now going down it's a lot more pleasant. I think we've left most of the industry at upper reaches of the river. Okay, so we have found the site of an old water. In fact, we can see there is actually a water wheel there. You might not be able to see it very well, but there is actually a water wheel there. Not brilliantly clear because it's very overgrown, but there is one of the old water wheels. There is one of the old water wheels that powered whatever this factory was at the side here. So you've got the box at the top feeding the water to the top of the mate wheel, and the wheel is a overshot wheel, so it's feeding water to the top, and you can just about make out the buckets on the wheel. I'll see if I can take some pictures to make it a little bit clearer. Okay. So there, a couple of the buckets on there. I say it's not brilliantly clear because it's also overgrown. I'm trying to pick out features of the wheel. There you can just about make out one of the spokes going round to the top, and the feed trough for the overshot wheel. Oops, coming out. There we go. An actual water wheel. So I don't know what factory this was. And unfortunately, the path to this wheel is very, very overgrown, and it's not a very good way of getting people to see some of the history of Sheffield. So let's get back out here. A set of mill cottages there as well, 3 stories high. This was a factory. So we're back on the trail by the river. Yeah, unfortunately the walk today, it's taken us away from the river quite a bit, because there is still a lot of the buildings of industry at the side of the river, at the top of part of the spot, well, the bit of the river between here and the dams, and a lot of the old dam buildings and industrial buildings and mills that were associated with the industry of this area have been either demolished or converted into private dwellings. So as a result, you can't actually get by the river anymore. But yeah. So here we are, an interesting looking area. We've got lots of evidence of industry here. So we have the rivers over there, but then we've got lots and lots of what were buildings here. Now I'm guessing this was an old mill. Again, I will have to look it up. But to me there's remnants of an old mill building there. I might try and go down there. Trying not to slip on my on there, but let's have a little look down here, see what we can see. So yeah, there's old wooden beams. Let's just very carefully make my way down here. Oh, okay, definitely some sort of structure. I have no idea what it was, but probably a mill building. As we head over here, there's lots more evidence of industry down here. And this obviously takes you all the way down to the side of the river. You are down by the river. And the sound of the river, I could just sit and listen to it all day. So let's make my way back up to the path. Well, that does sound as if you're actually harnessing some water power there. Oh well, look at that. Let me take a picture of that, it's worth getting a picture of. Turn you on. Okay, here we are on the trail, and what we have here, we are actually harnessing water power here. So we've got the water's coming in from the weir at the top. Some of it is being diverted into the building there, where it is powering this this screw type structure. So that will be generating power for something. I don't know what, but there you go. So we are actually harvesting some of the power of the river to produce electricity. Probably, I'm guessing electricity, which is brilliant. And I've got to admit, I often think that we ought to be harnessing the power of the rivers more. Well, there you go. Interesting. So what used to be another mill pond. Of course, all the buildings have gone now. In fact, I think what they've built here now is a retirement village, I think. Of course, I might be wrong. So we're getting towards the bottom of the river now, where we're not very far from Malin Bridge. Yeah, it's not been the most picturesque of walks. A lot of industry towards the top end meant that you couldn't actually get by the river, and also a lot of the old mill buildings that are there have been converted into private dwellings. So again, you can't get by the river. And there's lots of diversions away from the river, because what there were as well is farmland up to the side of the river which you can't walk across. So a bit of a disappointing walk to a certain extent, in that it's you've not been by the river for a lot of it, but there are parts like this where you are back by the river, and some of the bits up at the top, which are very pretty. So this bit I think goes on a bit, and then we are forced to divert off the path again. So let's crack on. So here we find ourselves at Malin Bridge, and what we're doing now, we're looking up the river from Malin Bridge up the River Loxley, and what you can see is you've got the confluence of two rivers. You've got the River Rowell coming in on the left and the River Loxley that we've just walked down on the right. From here the River Loxley travels further downstream to meet up with the River Don at Overton. If you've enjoyed this walk, do please consider liking and subscribing. That way the channel grows, and I hope to see you next time.